Hi, everybody. This is Deanna Kosaraju, founder of Global Tech Women. Welcome to Voices 2.0 2014. I hope you're enjoying the great sessions that we've had so far, and we have another amazing session, Engaging Men in Gender Competence. And I will let Bonita introduce her panel, but there's a few housekeeping tips I'd like to let you know about if this is your first time on Spreecast. Number one, you have to log in to participate in the chat window that's over on the right-hand side. The chat area is a great area for networking with other participants, and we encourage you to do that. You can meet women from all over the world, and we've had a great representation of women in many countries so far, so I hope that you will take advantage of that. There is a question box down below. It's a blue box there below us. You can see there. That's where we would like you to put your questions if you have a question for the panel, and then we will display those for the panel to answer. We also will use this link for a recording. So 30 minutes after the session has completed, you can take this same link and provide it to others or to display the session again and watch the recording. And your feedback is always welcome. This is version 2.0, and we're constantly reiterating and improving on what we're doing here at Global Tech Women. So if you have any advice for us, please feel free to email me at deanna@globaltechwomen.com. You can post on our Facebook, our very active Facebook group, or you can tweet it to us. We'd love to hear your feedback. So lastly, we are going to display a presentation to you, a slide presentation. When that goes up on the window, you need to drag it and drop it into a location on your screen that is suitable for you so that you can follow along, but also view the participants in this session. So they will be referring to certain slide numbers, and it will be up to you to move the slide deck forward and backward so that you can follow them along. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bonita, and I look forward to a great panel.
Thanks, Deanna. It's great to be here. My name is Bonita Banducci, and I teach gender and engineering here at Santa Clara University in the graduate program. I often have people say, gender and engineering, what is that? Well, it's basically what I call opportunity to build a gender competence of understanding and skills to work with gender differences. And gender differences as we define as competencies. Now you might wonder again, why call this competencies? Fundamentally, what I have found is that there are different lenses that men and women often see the world through. What I call the more individualistic lens and also the more relational lens. And I have found that if we are really going to be effective using gender differences, we need to talk about them in terms of competencies. So most of the guys are coming from this individualistic lens. There'll be exceptions, of course. And so they're looking for, how do I work with skills? How do I work with how people actually get results? So when we frame the differences in terms of competencies, we have real action and real effectiveness, and what I found is being increase in productivity and innovation. So I want to show a couple of slides about how we differentiate. If you want to put the block up now, the deck up now, Deanna, and put it to let's see, slide number. Well, what do you know? Oh, slide number 2, of course. What we have here in slide number 2, if you can all go to slide number 2, can they move themselves? I guess, Deanna, yes, I guess they can. It's just a differentiation between individualistic and relational. Individualistic is primarily looking through the lens of status and who's up and who's down. In terms of relationships, whereas relational is more looking at how you build connection. And individualistic, you're often looking at how to use information in a very compartmentalized and segmented way rather than the more relational, which is to share information and be able to make connections with information. The third element to the general lens has to do with time, and often you talk about people that multitask. More relational people will probably do more things than one thing at once, whereas the more individualistic usually is focused and does one thing at a time. And finally, I like to distinguish between a more systems way of thinking, again, prioritize kind of logic-based thinking, which is more individualistic. Now, this sounds a lot of, seems like a lot of sort of academic talk, but what I have here today are 4 great men and a 5th one coming, I believe, to talk about what they learned from gender and engineering and the actual application of it. Because what I've found is for women, it's really important in terms of being able to talk about their competencies. For the more individualistic people, mostly men in their lives, to understand them and to really be effective with them. And for the men, I found that they have actually found that they can be more effective by understanding them. He was actually promoted 3 times in 4 years. He said it never would have happened. It was very unusual in his company if he hadn't had this understanding. So with that, I'd like to start right away and get to our great men here. We have Scott Lynn here from Oracle, and Udiah, and Noe, and Faison. Glad you were able to make it, Faison.
Thank you.
And Motaz will be coming in probably momentarily on screen from Saudi Arabia. So Noe, actually, I like to pronounce his real pronunciation of his name. I know that generally it was really a big insight for you to understand the class role. And would you speak to that and what else you got out of the class?
Yes. Well, I'll speak to the platinum rule second, but if everyone could turn to slide 13, this kind of summarizes what I'd be speaking of today, which is kind of acknowledging, understanding, adopting, and adapting to differences. And so I've had what I've been told is an atypical work experience. I've worked all over. Most in particular, I've done 10 years in entrepreneurship environments with startups. And in these startups, I've interviewed and hired dozens of people. And when you're creating a team where you're trying to foster innovation, you really have to acknowledge differences and embrace them. Because if you get people that are all like-minded, all thinking the same, it's very hard to get innovative ideas, to get thinking, to go outside the box, to find new technologies or new ideas. And so you really have to embrace that. Then once you have your team of diverse people, you have to kind of take a whole new approach. And this is the understand on slide 13. Because normally if you have a conflict with someone and their idea is completely different from yours, you get defensive. And right away you start talking about, no, my idea is better, and it becomes a fight, and it's a win or lose situation. And as soon as you do that, you devalue what the other person is offering. You're not considering it. And so to really foster and create innovation, you need to be able to take a step back and understand what the people are saying, because there is value there. It may be different from yours, but you have to be humble and a little humility and accept that. And in order to fully allow the creative juices to be fostered. And the next thing is, as Professor had said about the platinum rule. So we all know about the golden rule, which is treat others as you would like to be treated. But the platinum rule is treat others how they want to be treated. Now this is key, I think, to a lot of success I've had professionally. For instance, this one company I worked for was an industrial manufacturing facility. I was managing 30 males out in the field, and then the office environment was all females. And so 2 completely different cultures that I was interacting with every single day. And the way that I was able to find success there was through my application of the platinum rule. And so out in the field, I would talk to the men, get their ideas, get their input. Showed that I valued their opinions. I would incorporate what they were telling me into my solutions or what I was trying to apply at the site, at the facility, and it showed them that they were valued, they were being listened to, and that made a huge difference. And by just doing those things, there was a huge. They're huge contributors to increasing the production while decreasing overtime and overall costs. Now, if you look in the office environment, which I was also working in, a lot of the women, they were the gatekeepers to a lot of information that we needed in order to run certain analysis for different types of projects. And the way that using that platinum rule and communicating with them, more than just a request. Oh, I need this. I need it now. It was, first let's build some rapport. Let's talk. Let me build a relationship with you, and understand who you are, what your hardships are, so I can relate. And by doing this, when I would then ask for a request for information, it was more like a favor, not a demand. I need this now. Give it to me. And so they would happily, let me assist you with it. And so that allowed me to get information faster than anyone else. And so through the platinum rule, both in the field and in the office, I was able to get myself from just a localized asset to a regional asset, and given the promotion to oversee several facilities. And it's all just key to really understanding how do people want to be talked to and how they want to be dealt with, instead of just going the same approach to each person, where you have to have that personal connection. You need to empathize with them. You need to show them that you understand. And so the platinum rule, I think, very key.
Great, thanks. Udaya, what was it that was most impactful for you, and what results were you able to produce out of understanding gender competence?
Sure. I think to me, the first thing is realizing that there are differences, and that there are differences in how men and women think. That itself is I consider it as a big learning from the class. And once you realize, you have to understand what are those differences. When you understand what are the differences, then you have how to adapt to how other people, how to interact with the other gender. And I think I still remember the lecture from my class, actually. When you say you're looking from looking from a specific lens, I didn't really think what you're talking about when you're talking about the specific lens. After going through the class, I can understand why some people behave the way they behave, particularly women. I work with work in a team in a big company that had almost 400 people and 20 sub teams, and we had to work with a wonderful woman from a different team, but she always had questions, but at the same time, she wouldn't really she would ask questions, but at the same time, she would not impose anything on anybody. So I didn't realize. I mean, everybody was thinking that why is she asking why is she asking questions but not taking the questions? So
She's so beautiful.
after
It's very hard. She's one of the best girls in the business. Aren't you, darling?
Hold on.
Yeah, do you like Bruce?
Welcome.
Yeah.
We're getting some
boys.
sound in here.
Wow.
Motaz, is there some sound in your background?
there we go.
Okay, I think we're okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so after attending this class, I kind of started why that person is behaving the way she is. It's then okay, it's very clear to me. She is a relational person, and she wanted to connect all the dots. She wanted to know everything. She wanted to know what is happening, and she wanted to understand the complete picture. So that was the reason why she is posing a lot of questions, and people thought that why is she asking questions that are not related to her. that kind of like made sense. Okay, she's a relational person and she wanted to know the complete picture. And she was posing questions, but at the same time, like she was not imposing on anybody. So to me, actually, she wanted to avoid conflict. She is a relational person. She wanted to build connections rather than avoiding the conflicts. Um, and she didn't. I mean, that's the reason why she didn't voice her opinions aggressively. She was conveying in a polite manner, but she wasn't really opinion to voice aggressively. So after this class, I went and talked to her, and my intuition was correct. That was.
Isn't that great? That is so great. Okay, so
And,
what was it? What was her response when you went to talk to her?
she was surprised. I mean, she didn't expect that I'll have this conversation, but when I asked her, she said yes. That's the reason. And she wasn't aggressive because she wanted to. She doesn't want to have any conflict. She wanted to avoid conflict. She wanted to avoid conflict, and she wanted to build connections. She wanted to be nice people. So she was. That's why her approach is to suggest, but not really um, impose anything. Um, and uh, and she and she,
She confirmed the connecting the dots too, that
correct.
she likes a
Yeah.
lot of information to be able to get the full background. Let's put up, I just want to put up number 3 slide. Yeah, because it accounts for so many things. So oh, that's right. Deanna's not putting it up. You can turn to slide 3. I keep thinking Deanna's putting it up. And I'm just interrupting for a moment, but you can see that the more individualistic person is more highly focused, and the more relational person has a very high context and also sees a high context, speaks a high context, thinks a high context. So that's what Udaya is talking about, that, for a lot of individualistic people, it looks like this relational person is scattered and all over the place. And what's the point here?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, people conceived her as interruption rather than trying to find out the big picture, understand the full.
They actually see her as interrupting rather than trying to find the big picture.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
something? That's really great.
So, and I talked to her. Maybe you should set the expectations so that like people realize your intuitions. People are not perceiving how you perceiving you. Your people are not seeing your real intentions. People are perceiving it, looking it from a different lens, and that's why you're viewed as this. So she took that feedback very well, and she said that she would incorporate that in ongoing meetings.
That is great. I just get so thrilled by the men who take on coaching women, as well as, of course, the women that take on coaching other women or men. But that is really great. And I bet she was really gratified that you took this upon yourself to talk to her about it, wasn't she?
Yeah. I was a little bit hesitant to talk to her about it, but it went really, really well. We had a very pleasant conversation, and it was really well. And I think had I not attended this class, I wouldn't have been able to, still able to figure out like why she was.
Yeah.
She had a lot of questions why she was asking questions or doing things the way she was doing.
Great. That's great. Now, I know you have the other example of the international team.
Sure.
I want to hear a little bit more from other people, and then we'll come back to you.
Sure.
And Motaz, welcome. Great to see you.
Hello. Sorry, I lost the link, so it took me a bit to find it. Thanks to Deanna, she sent it to me by email.
Right. You want to tilt your camera a little bit because we can only see half your face. Tilt it.
Well,
there
here I
go.
am.
Great. So, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and well, let me say first of all that Motaz is actually licensed to deliver this gender competence work in Saudi Arabia. He hasn't found the opportunity yet. He's been working on it, right? You can tell us about that. But he was so.
Well, you could tell it's stuff, right?
Pardon me?
You could tell it's stuff.
Well, But see, what I'm impressed with is that you felt that it was really that important, and that you wanted to bring this to Saudi Arabia, along with cross-cultural understanding from Marion's class.
That's correct.
So why don't you tell us about it and how it's going? I mean, I know that you haven't actually contracted an opportunity yet, but tell us about what you see and how you have applied what you learned.
Sure. Well, hello everybody. My name is Motaz Hajjaj. Actually, I went to school in the U.S. I got my bachelor's in computer engineering in Missouri University of Science and Technology, and my master's in Santa Clara University, and that's how I got to know Bonita. Um, During my master's, I got more into this gender intelligence courses, and also with Marianne in the cross-cultural training. So I started doing like out-of-class work, attending conferences with Bonita, and also with Marianne, since it was something that is really interesting me, especially that I'm from the Middle East, and we have this multicultural environments and also gender competence, especially in Saudi Arabia, that it's very recent that women started to get more into the workforce, not like before. And with now we have like more women and getting more into the workforce, looking for into their careers, which has brought in a lot of challenges in many companies. And as part of my company, I have a startup called chesstag.com, which is a digital marketing agency. As I've told Bonita a couple of days ago, I have actually 80% of my staff are females. So looking at to a digital marketing agency, which also has to do with advertising, you could tell it has to do a lot with creativity and solving problems. So if we have the whole environment is more individualistic, it will probably shift from the creativity, and we'll probably start having the thought of we know what the customer wants, versus if it's relational, it could be a lot better and probably more friendlier when it comes to serving marketing services or advertising services to clients. So when I employed more females, I started actually seeing more value, actually solving problems through actually like better, I could say like better communication skills. Um, and I mean, in the beginning, it was something very challenging since I've never had, well, let's say, like 8 females reporting to me before. Plus, it's something new in the country. Not that new, but having like fresh females out of college. Some of them have no work experience before. Training them on how to do all this new thing to them was a bit of a challenge, but they were really fast learning and motivating. And especially women in Saudi Arabia now are really motivated to work, and they're more excited to find job more than males. It's actually harder to recruit males than uh, recruiting females. So if you have
That's
any
great.
questions, Bonita, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you had told me was that given that you're working on creating web presence, isn't that right? That's what your marketing work is for your clients?
Yes.
And you said that the women seem to have a real enthusiasm for expressing and communicating what the client had to provide, so that you're very pleased with their actual representation of the customer. And
Yes, especially when it comes to copywriting, and especially when it comes to social media. Social media, it's all about touching the customer's emotions. We realize that when we have female copywriters, the messages that the client wants, it comes out a lot better than a male copywriter. Especially if the category is more into fashion or food, other than the other B2B boring stuff.
Well, and then your customers are probably more fashion. I mean, more women as well. So
Yeah.
makes sense. Well, I just wanted to point out to the people that are also part of this session that one of the distinctions that we make in terms of competencies is both men and women have what we call customer focus, but often the more relational people have a focus of getting into the shoes of the customer, whereas often the more individualistic people are more, I know what's best for the customer. That's what Motaz was saying, and not as much empathy. And of course, in all of this, we need both. I found the most effective way of really producing innovation is to be able to have both. But it's very important to be able to see the difference, or else you get people frustrated and not understanding where people are coming from. So thank you, Motaz.
Part of our culture, we are more of a high context culture, not a low context. So having like the relational, let's say, features or the relational skills helps more when it comes to a business like mine, doing marketing services.
Interesting. So now, I would think that given your prevailing culture is also more relational, then you also have men that are more relational as well. But you still find that the women have that edge.
Yes, I mean, one of the reasons is because women are more motivated now to work, and they want to prove themselves and that they can establish their career and advance up to leadership levels and management levels.
I can understand that. Yeah, they're the new pool of talent that's there. That's great. Okay, I want to hear some more about what it's like talking with. I know you've been talking with a big client, but let's get back and include Faizan in your experience, Faizan. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here. I actually, listening to Adaya and Noel, one of the key things that really was, very common in both of their discussions was what we all learned from your class, is that the platinum rule, right? Well, basically, we cannot treat people the way that we want to treat them, or we have to treat them the way they want to be treated. And that was something I did not understand in my career. You know, coming out of college at 22, I started a company making surveillance cameras for the military, and we were a very male-dominated team startup. Um, and going through that experience of only dealing with men, you develop a very uh, linear thinking methodology in how you develop products, and the way that you become very individualistic, and you think everybody's like that. So when I joined another startup, that's when I came across. I was appointed as a manager for an entire department, and being young and inexperienced, I was 24. I was given, the responsibility of managing people that included women who were much older than I was. And a lot of times, because of the inexperience, I had a hard time understanding how men and women function in terms of work, in terms of how they contributed towards development. I thought everybody, this is how it's done. This is how you're supposed to do it. Now just do it. That was kind of my approach. And I think it was about the time when I took your class. It was coincidentally around that time I was going through some issues with one of my female direct reports. And what so happened was that during the class, there was a lot of things that were pointed out that made sense, that kind of resonated with me, and I felt, maybe, this makes sense. What this class is talking about. What if I implement it in my work? What if I actually, talk to to this person and actually employ the platinum rule. That was one thing, and try to understand where she's coming from, you know. And
This was someone who you were about ready to
oh yeah,
let go
I
of,
was about
right?
to fire her.
Yeah.
So it was, I had reached that point in my tolerance of her at that, where I felt like she wasn't really contributing towards the company. But it was because I was looking at it from my lens. It was I was looking at it through you know how I would deal with that situation. And based on that, I failed her. I gave her an F on everything, and I said, and it was around that time when I took your class, and
You know, Faison, I just want you to know, I think I even remember the moment
oh yeah,
that the lights went on. It was just amazing. The rest of this story is so incredible.
right.
So I just want to go ahead.
No, that's true, and it was around, you know, when I took this class, I actually, to be completely honest, I didn't really think I would learn much from it as you know as I did, and it turns out I learned so much that I probably gave someone a higher position in the company because of that,
Well, tell the whole story. You know,
yeah.
you went back.
And I went back, and then I had a meeting with her, and we talked about what she was bothered at work, why she couldn't perform, why she was not able to you know do the functionalities that she was asked to do. And it turns out that there were certain things that she was doing that she did not like doing, and she was not good at. And I was actually forcing her to do things that she was not good at. And what I did not understand, that she was actually a mix of individual and relational, and that was a very unique combination in a person. Um, there were certain things she did where she was very relational. She included a lot of people, but there were certain things she did that she was very individualistic. So it's very hard. It was very hard for me to understand how to use this person. But then, you know, learning some techniques from class, I was able to become more tolerant, where I basically, you know, started looking and observing what she did throughout a period of time, which is about 3 weeks, I think. And I was using that as material for my paper that I was that I was preparing for that class. And it was about that 3 week time period where she was allowed to work on different things. She was basically manufacturing. So she was allowed to work in design, in manufacturing, in assembly, in production. So she was allowed to work in different areas. And I basically was observing her throughout that time, and she didn't know that. She didn't know I was actually studying her. And I was trying to see how she performed in each department, or, you know, at each function. And after 3 to 4 weeks, even though it was a short period of time, I actually figured out what she was good at. And it was at a time when I changed her job description altogether. You know, she basically she was doing very hardcore manufacturing stuff for engineering, and not to go into technical details, but from what she performed and what I observed that she was good at, the entire job description was changed. She was allotted a new position.
Managing the line?
Yeah, it was basically managing the production line.
Managing all the people on the production
Exactly.
line. Okay.
So she was basically given a position to manage the entire assembly line and production line. And she actually she did not expect it. She did not expect that I would come back with something like this after 4 weeks. Keep in mind that we had a meeting before the 4 weeks where I said, I need to get back to you about what I was going to do with you, basically. And it was after those 4 weeks, she was surprised that I came to her with a new position.
Which is a promotion.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Promotion, where she did get a raise in her salary as well.
Yeah.
And her results from then on were pretty phenomenal. I mean, she's doing really well, and we now have we just promoted another woman within that same area to manage some of the manufacturing of our products.
Okay, now I'm going to toot your horn a little bit more, because the story goes that the CEO came in, that you increased the productivity so much.
Right.
The CEO came in to see what was going on.
Yeah, and yeah, that and the CEO came in and basically there was a huge change in how I was doing things. I mean, we didn't really do things this way. Where when I had already told him I was going to get rid of this person.
Yeah.
You keep in mind we're a startup, so we're like about 60 people. We're not a lot of people. So when I made a decision on what I wanted to do, I usually ended up doing it. And here I was actually delaying what I wanted to do. So then I actually told him and the management team about what I was trying to do. And we actually have a woman on our board. She manages
Oh my goodness.
she works as a consultant in this company called W. I don't know. It's basically dealing with clothing and helping women choose what to wear. I'm not too familiar with that area, so I can't. But she was very interested in this new thing where here I was trying to help a person of the opposite sex uh, in promoting her and making her do what she loves doing and she's good at doing. And that attitude basically made my CEO come back and check out what I was doing. And we ended up, you know, later on when he saw the results of that, he wanted me to present some of that information to the board. And I did that, and they were really excited how I implemented what I learned on one person. And we started this new thing in our company where we want to employ more women now.
That's something.
And a lot of we're trying to get more diversity because our area of technology is very male dominated. Most of our products, most of the stuff we do is very hardcore engineering. There's some women in marketing but we really want to expand that and we have a huge thing coming up next month where we're actually completely revamping our entire engineering, and that's going to change our company. And that's where in a month or two, we're actually going to be launching this new process of recruitment, and that's going to include a lot of women in this process.
Great.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So that's basically what happened.
Okay, it's basically, but some of the other points I just want to get on record.
Right.
Is that you decided to bring the engineering closer to the production floor.
Right,
that was all part of it, so that there was more communication.
There's more communication, and that was basically some of the things that were because of that female direct report being in that position where she used her skills to she was a relational person in that aspect, and she used her skills to bring production more to engineering, closer to engineering. So I should give her credit for that, where she was good at doing that. I was not good at actually bringing those two departments together, and because one of the things that I lacked as a manager was I was too individualistic in what I was doing. I was too focused on what I wanted to have, and sometimes that's not the best thing for innovation, as we talked about.
Well,
because it hindered
it's just really fabulous, and I will also put it on record that you said that it was the board and/or the CEO.
Right, the CEO did.
They called you a visionary.
Right.
For the changes that you brought in the
yeah,
company.
that.
Pretty cool.
That is because a lot of times what they expect from a lot of people in my area of expertise, which is basically firmware development and programming processors. A lot of people in this area are very because of the field being very male dominated. They're not really into trying to bring in more women, or they're not into this area. They're not interested in this philosophy and ideology of let's get more diversity through women.
Well, see,
so that was a change.
But you really showed that it made a difference.
Yeah, it did.
And that you distinguished those competencies.
And I personally want more women to work now because it brings in more creativity, and that's what Tom's talking about in his talk right now. There's an element of creativity and an element of cooperation and an element of innovation that women bring in that's unprecedented. And it's very important.
That's so
It's
great.
very important. So that's
very
exactly why we want to recruit more women, because we want to diversify our product line. We want to go more into consumer products, so that's where we want to kind of get more ideas. more ideas. So.
Fabulous. Okay, let's hear from Scott.
All right. So it's interesting because I work for an incredibly large company, right? But the area I work in is in operating systems. In particular, for 3 years, I managed the kernel, which is, basically just, it's like the software side of what he does, right? Okay. So you couldn't get more individualistic or more low context than the environment I was in. In fact, in the entire engineering part of the organization, 250 people, there was one female engineer. One female. Now, she was very high up in the ranks. And one day I was actually talking with her, it was about a year ago, and it was like we had a meeting we were both waiting for, and we just started talking and about what it was like to be a woman in this organization, which, it's a great organization to work for, don't get me wrong, but just what's it like? And she's like, well, I learned very early on how to be one of the guys. I was like, well, yeah, but that's a complete crime, right? It's completely criminal that you had to learn that, It's for her, it's like.
What was her response to that?
She's like, well, I know, but you just learn how to adapt. You learn how to, It's like, yeah, but that's not what we want here, right? We want to be able to bring the ability, the creativity, and I don't remember exactly what I used, but the flexibility and the thought processes that women bring to the party here, because we'll get better at it. She goes, yeah, I know. Women that are out there right now, there aren't that many people out there right now learning how to do this kind of low-level software programming that we do, right? And there aren't that many women. And so I've been responsible for college recruiting for our organization for 3 years now. And I actually made it a focus of mine to look for, and it's hard to tell because we're pretty blind in how we do our hiring because we're an international company, you have to be, but look for women coming out of these schools that we recruit from and actively interviewing them. And so in the first year, out of 12 candidates, we hired 2 women. And the second year, I don't remember how many it was out of 25, but it was significantly higher. So the engineering organization is growing the percentage of women, rapidly. And one of those women I hired directly into my team as a kernel engineer. And I remember one of the new grads came to me, and he was from the same school. They all knew each other, and he comes to me and he wanted to talk to me, and he shut my door and said, well, some of my friends said they're not coming to our team because she's here, because they don't deem her to be as good as everybody else. And my response to that was, I hired her for something very particular, which is she's got skills that none of you have.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So she had her degree was in machine learning, which is much more, everyone here understands what that is, right? But in machine learning, how to get computers to act and think more like people. It's like I have, a very unique need for someone to be able to, because we need to be able to build our system to be adaptable to any situation that is running in, being able to see things coming, predict what's going to happen, and then respond to it before it happens. And she's got that training, and none of you do, and none of you are going to have it. And so you can tell your friend, fine, I don't want them working for me. Because I have corporate strategic decisions to make here, and she's part of that plan. And then we came up with another need where we need to build a relationship with the other side of the organization. So there's Oracle has got many different engineering teams spread out all over the world. And the database is obviously the largest of those and the most important, let's be honest. And my team comes from the Sun acquisition, being Solaris OS, okay? And so we needed to build a relationship and actually put people on site with the database team. And the first person I put up was this woman. Because I said, we need to build relationships over there. So I want her there. I don't want to put a bunch of guys that are going to sit in their cubes and not talk to anybody.
How did your people respond to that? Did you say
the management was on board with it? They're like, yeah, we get it completely.
Okay.
Right.
And
it's been going very well. We now have 5 people working up there, and we've built this incredible relationship with the team. In fact, we're now starting to work on the database code. So we have kernel engineers, right? Which that wasn't going to happen.
Wasn't gonna happen.
Wasn't going to happen. So that's just some of the things that have been happening. The other side that I got out of the class is I learned to put it another way, what was wrong with me.
Oh, yeah, instead of
right.
what's wrong with them, what's wrong
Right.
with me.
Well, so what I learned is I'm very relational, right? And I've worked in a field that's incredibly individualistic, and yeah, I've always wondered, like, what's wrong with me that I don't think more like other men, like that. And I learned just I'm very relational, and I've been able to use that to my advantage, though. And so now I've grown up, I've gone up through the ranks of my organization very quickly. I now am responsible for the entire strategy for my product. Instead of being a manager of engineers, I actually manage the entire product management. So I'm responsible for the global strategy for Solaris, right? And that was a job that I was asked to take on. And my boss keeps saying the same thing. You're the only other person in the the only other person in the organization that can think bigger like this.
Isn't that great?
So yeah, so
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I want to hear more. I wanted to get you dive back to his other example, but
Yeah.
I want to see if there are questions. Deanna, are you getting questions in the chat for us? I know there's a delay. I guess we're
Yeah, there's one there on the window too.
no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it is usually done. That's Montaz is answering.
Yeah.
I'm not right now. Let's see if we can move this. How does this move? Because I'm trying to see if there's.
Yes, I could answer that.
Is there a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I received the question from Amani. I answered back in the queue, but I could say the answer. It's not a problem.
Amani has a question and you answered it.
Yeah.
Okay. What was Amani's question?
Yes. That if we could introduce a topic of gender competence in Saudi Arabia, either through workshops or school classes. Well, my answer to this, yes, of course. It could be done to, we could target companies, fresh graduates. So you could build a whole new generation of gender intelligence, and also to students who are in their last semester, senior college students in their last semester.
Well, tell us a little bit about, you're talking to this large organization, and what is it like in Saudi Arabia?
When I returned back 2 years ago, I started reaching companies to do the cross-cultural training and the gender intelligence course. Many of the companies, they were kind of scared when they hear the gender issue. It's like a topic they don't want to even get close to. Until I got kind of successful with one of the companies, and then I had a whole email thread of, I don't know, like 10 women fighting each other through email saying, we need this course, no, you don't need this course, it was your fault that you said this before. And I started seeing all work politics in a whole email thread. Then I assumed that, okay, I don't think this course is gonna work for this company. But now, thank God, I'm working on a proposal. I'll probably get the brief, a better brief next week. But now we have another door open at one of the most diverse organizations in the country. It's gonna be one hell of a challenge. I think they have over 40 nationalities working under one organization with males and females. So they want to solve both issues. They want to solve the cross-cultural issue. They want to solve the gender issue, since they have people from different parts of the world, where each single nationality has its own thoughts and background on gender competencies, whether males or females. So there's gonna be one big project. I'm probably gonna need a lot of help, Bonita. So get ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready, and also Amani, we're getting Amani ready. I want to come, but if
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. I mean, certainly having all the international students that have been here and seeing the value that understanding gender competence has brought. I just want to get at least Udaya to say something about the team that you were working with and the differences made with what you see as possible with global teams now, which is outside, a little bit outside the gender scope, but it still contributed to that.
Yeah. So I want to give a little bit of background before I start talking about this. I was leading a team of 10 people who are geographically distributed. A team in Santa Clara, team in RTP, and a team in Beijing. So we had the team in Santa Clara and Beijing, but the Beijing team was something new to us. We had to set up the team. We had to deliver something for the upcoming release. So let's pause here for a minute and come back to what I'm doing at school, and then we can see how these two things are correlated. I'm working on my part-time masters, and I'm doing a master's in computer science, and I'm only interested on computer science. I know there are like the school asks you to take some courses which are related to engineering and engineering management. One of them is gender engineering, and the other one is working with globally distributed teams. I pushed them so until the end actually, because I wanted to do more on the computer science and related things. Let's come back to what I'm working. So I had to work in a team, and we had to set up a new team, and we have our sister teams in Beijing, and they helped us. The managers over there helped us to bring up a new team. Oh, it's all good, great. Now we have team here, team in Beijing, and team in RTP. But the problem is when we started to engage the Beijing team into the project. So um, there is a way, there is a lot of difference between the way teams here operated and the teams in Beijing operated. I'll just give a couple of examples and a couple of examples. So one thing is my counterpart in Beijing visited here, and he was here for a couple of weeks and for training session for initial ramp ups. It was great. I provided him. I provided him whatever documents are required, how to set up the project, build, and what kind of things that we are working on the upcoming release. It's all good. I appointed him all the documents, and then okay, these are the things that you need, and if you have any questions, get back to me, and we are done. And he went back. He was here for 2 weeks. We had like um, kind of daily interactions, but most of them are informal. Went back, and after 2 weeks, his manager talked to my manager that the training was not useful. I was surprised. Why? I asked why. I provided all the information that is required, and why do you think it is useful? And if it wasn't useful, why didn't he tell it to me on my face? And why it has to go through it has to come through this way? I was upset. I was a little bit upset because okay, this is my first interaction. I try to provide as much as information as possible, and it didn't go well. But there is something on now. If I look back, there is something wrong on my end too. I didn't look for what he's expecting, and I didn't realize that there is a way that I see things and the way he see things. And I didn't think that I really did not think about the power distance. So
Which is a term that comes from cross-cultural understanding, that the relationship of his relationship with you and also with his boss.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So from his perspective, I have to explain things, and I was hoping that he would come back to me with the questions, but from his perspective, he was expecting that I would handhold him and take to the next step, which is which I was not aware of, and also considering the cultural background, and he has to go to his manager to convey anything to me. So that's what happened, and in 2 weeks actually, he was expecting that I would be more proactive and help him, but I was expecting that okay, I provided him all the documents or all the things that is required for him to be successful, and he would come back to me if he has questions. So that was a gap, and there were a few more instances, and finally I decided okay, I'm not. It's enough. I don't want to lead a team. I wanted to be an individual contributor, and I become an individual contributor. After that, I took this class, and I decided, okay, there is something missing here. Either I should learn and understand how people think. And I started to, I said maybe I should take some classes. Then that's when I realized, okay, there are some classes in the school that I'm supposed to take, and and I took those classes. I took the working with global engineering teams, and then the next thing is, oh, maybe I should look at what is this gender and engineering. Okay, now I know the differences between cross-cultural teams, and why shouldn't I look more into how men and women think, and that's how I ended up with this class, and it's been great.
Well, the thing that I saw out of this, Udaya, was that you said that after you resigned from the team, then your boss even decided that there wouldn't be an international team, that only Beijing would do things in Beijing and you would do things here, and then your other place, I think,
Yeah.
here in the United States. And so it broke up having the opportunity to have a global team. But now Udaya is ready. Now he says, now I can lead a team like that.
Yes, I can.
What a difference, you know. And even though it was cross-cultural, there were things that he learned in the class about gender, about differences that and different competencies that allowed him to recognize that yes, you can take on teams like that again. So I wanted to get that part in because I think that's a big loss for people to make the decision that we can't have global teams, and you were able to turn that around.
I mean, I think that example itself is like I was so focused. I'm an engineer. I wanted to focus on only things that are interested to me, computer science only, but not really into engineering or engineering management related things. And this class has helped me to be what I am today.
That's really wonderful. Really wonderful. I know we have to wrap up. We could go on all day as far as I'm concerned. But I just wanted to take an opportunity to let people know you can turn to the last number 10 PowerPoint just for contact information and resources. I will just say that the gender engineering class came out of the workshops I was doing for corporations, and it's actually done as a workshop format in the university. It's 2 full Saturdays and a half Saturday. But it can be done as a workshop inside of organizations, and that's what Mutaz is planning to do, and several other of us. I'm starting to train people to be able to do this. And one of my favorite topics, instead of calling it gender and engineering, is innovation. What's gender got to do with it? But we can talk. We can have all different kinds of topics. Pardon me?
There's a comment there.
Oh, a comment. Okay. Amani says, awareness is the key to create the desired harmony between males and females in every aspect of life. Actually, if we had more time, I'd also ask about what happens in their personal lives, but we don't have enough time. So one of the other things, I do specialize also in just working with women, doing a course called Calling Out the Brilliance of Women. So on that note, what I want to add is whenever I say that I work with calling out the brilliance of women, I have to add, and the greatness of men. Thank you very much. You're all so fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Motaz.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to
Great.
everybody
Well,
for a really great panel. And I know everyone who watched it has plenty of takeaways to help them create an environment where there's more understanding and more empathy and more working together in an environment where everyone can succeed. And I love the idea of the platinum rule. I think that's great. That's one of my big takeaways. So thank you for that. So this concludes this session. I want to thank everyone for participating, and I want to invite you to our next session, which is Women in ICT, the Global Failure of Intervention Programs. It's just bad business. So it's with Sonia Bernhardt, who's an expert in this space. She's the CEO of ThoughtWare, and she has been working in this area for a number of years and has been a very frequent panelist and keynote speaker at a number of events that I've hosted over the years. So I hope that you will take this time and visit her as well. So thank you so much, everybody.
thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. We're going to end now. Thanks, everyone.
See you soon, Motaz.